This is the Season Long Podcast in support of the YouTube channel SeasonLongBaller. Hope you're having a wonderful day, and it is playoff time. We are getting deep into the playoffs now as we are into the Eastern Conference semifinals where the Wizards played the Bulls in Game 1. We will talk about that in just a bit, but let's recap a little bit of what happened in the first round where the Wizards defeated the Pacers 4-0. So you're probably aware of that one. That is, of course, the 1-8 seed game. And then Philly defeated Miami 4-2. So that is your 2 seed over the 7 seed. And then the 2 games that we're going to take a closer look at, or the 2 series that we're going to take a closer look at, Atlanta losing to Chicago. That's the 4-5 game. Chicago taking that series 4-1. And then Cleveland taking Boston 4-1 as well. Out west, Memphis took care of the Lakers 4-1. Denver took care of Minnesota 4-1, and that was the 4-5 matchup with Denver being the 5. Dallas lost to Sacramento, and we will definitely talk about that in just a bit. It is the only series in the first round that went all 7 games. And then the Clippers took care of Portland 4-1, and that is a 2-7 matchup. So taking a look first again, going back out east, Atlanta took the hard L to the Bulls, losing that series 4-1, and we're mentioning this because Atlanta, of course, gave us a lot of trouble during the season as we split the season series with them, swept the Bulls. But Atlanta was the team I thought was going to win this series, but they did not. And again, it is just a 4-5 series matchup, but the Bulls took it 4-1. And taking a quick look at some of the individual games here, in Game 1, the Bulls shot 71%. They only missed 11 shots while hitting 27. And that is usually a recipe for success. They defeated the Bulls by 30. Defeated the Hawks by 30, 77-47 by virtue of shooting 71% from the field, 58% from deep. That is usually enough to get it done. The Hawks only shot 44% from the field, which isn't terrible, but when your opponent is shooting 71%, well, that's probably not good enough. The trend pretty much continued, the Bulls continuing their hot shooting 54% from the field, and they took Game 2 by 5, 67-62. Game 3 went the Bulls' way, as now we are in Chicago. Bulls win by 14, 65-51. Again, shooting over 50% by a good margin, 56% from the field, while the Hawks only shot 46% from the field and were only 31% from deep. The Bulls were shooting 57% from deep, taking Game 3. The Hawks finally get a 1-point victory in Game 4 to salvage a little bit of, to salvage the series and to get the opportunity to go back to Atlanta 55-54. And the Bulls continued their hot shooting 55% from the field in this game, although they do take the L, and the Hawks shot 47% from the field. But the Hawks did a good job on the offensive glass, getting 8 and actually out rebounding the Bulls in this particular game. However, again, 1-point loss for the Bulls in this one. Hawks are still alive. But in Game 5, again, Bulls shot 60% from the field. Hawks only shot 46%. A 9-point victory for the Bulls, and they become the Wizards' opponents in the semifinal round, 62-53. Now, taking a look at the other Eastern Conference series that we will highlight, and that will be the 3-6 matchup, Cleveland against Boston. And remember, you've heard me say it a million times, you're probably tired of me saying it, how Boston rallied during the season. If you're new to the channel, SeasonLongBaller, and of course we simulated the entire 82-game season through the Washington Wizards and our NBA 2K23 player build, Jaymont Summerz. Now, the Boston Celtics started out the season as you would expect the real Celtics to start, as they were playing well, but then Jason Tatum got hurt, and the Celtics basically fell out of all playoff position, even play-in position. Jason Tatum got healthy late in the season. He was out supposedly for the season with an Achilles injury, but he comes back a little bit early, and the Celtics rally. And not only do they rally and get just past the play-in, but they get into the final playoff position, where they are the 6th seed, and I had them penciled in as possibly making a run to the Eastern Conference Finals at least. However, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the 3 seed, had something to say about that, and the Cavaliers defeated the Boston Celtics 4-1. In Game 1, Cavaliers defeated the Celtics 59-44. In Game 2, defeated the Celtics again 62-46, shooting 51% from the field. In game 3, the Celtics do hold home court, winning 70-57 and shooting a blazing 66% from the field, 29 out of 44, while the Cavaliers shot 49% from the field, and they lost in this one again, 70-57. However, game 4 goes back in the favor of the Cavaliers, as the Celtics, as well as they shot in game 3, they only shot 38% from the field in game 4 and took a close 51-47 lead to the Cavaliers. And now going back to Cleveland for game 5, the Cavaliers shot 57%, the Celtics shot 52% from the field, but only 30% from deep, going 7 out of 23. Cavaliers take game 5. The Celtics, who I've been claiming the whole time were going to be the dark horse winner in the East, actually go down 4-1. So now let's swing out to the West really quickly, because there's definitely a series I want to talk about there, and that is the 3-6 matchup between Dallas and Sacramento. Reason I want to talk about this one is because Dallas got up in the series 3-1, and then the Kings rallied, and that's right, came back from a 3-1 deficit, took game 7, and that is where the series actually changed. All right, so in game 1, the Mavericks barely outshot the Kings 51% to 50%, as the Kings shot exactly 50%, 22 out of 44. The Mavericks were just slightly better, 22 out of 43. That's how close it was. But the Mavericks hit 10 3-pointers, while the Kings only hit 4 3-pointers, 6 more than the Kings, and that was basically the difference in the game. Mavericks take game 1, 61-53. Game 2 goes the Kings' way, 53-46. The Kings only shot 42% from the field, but managed to get the victory over the Mavericks, who shot 49% from the field. And believe it or not, again, pretty close in percentages, again, this time in 3-point category, as the Kings were 5 out of 19, the Mavericks were 5 out of 18. But a 53-46 victory for the Kings. Now in game 3, Mavericks shoot 50% from the field. The Kings shot 61% from the field, however, made 5 less 3-pointers, and the Mavericks get the win 68-64. The Mavericks were also 15 of 16 from the free throw line, while the Kings were only 4 out of 5 from the charity stripe, and that put the series at 2-1 in favor of the Kings. Game 4 was the Mavericks blowout, shooting 43% from the field. The Kings only shot 39% from the field. The Kings shot no free throws in this game, while the Mavericks were 12 out of 13. Mavericks win 65-44. I'm sure the Kings were complaining about that free throw discrepancy, but it's now a 3-1 series lead by virtue of this 21-point blowout for the Mavericks, and then the series changes. Game 5, the Kings shoot 46% from the field. The Mavericks only 41, 62-55 in favor of the Kings. Game 6, Mavericks shoot 35% from the field. The Kings shot 44% from the field. The Kings made only 5 of 23 pointers, but the Mavericks were 3 out of 21 with only 14% from the field and 3-pointers. And the Kings take a 52-46 victory, setting up Game 7 in Dallas. And the Mavericks had a horrible time shooting in Game 7, 16 out of 47, so just over 1 out of every 3 shots, 34% from the field. The Kings were slightly better, 21 out of 46. The Kings, despite the fact they were an atrocious 3 out of 19 from 3-point distance, 16% clip there. The Mavericks were shooting 1 out of every 3. However, the Kings get the important Game 7 victory and rally from a 3-1 deficit, winning 55-48. And that is the biggest difference out west. Kings with a 4-3 victory in that series. All right, so bringing it now to the semifinal round, where the Wizards lead Chicago 1-0, and we'll talk about that game in just a moment. The 2-3 matchup is Philly against Cleveland in the East, and that is Philly holding a 1-0 lead there. Out west, Memphis is trailing Denver 1-0. Denver is the 5 seed. Memphis is the 1 seed. And again, Denver leads that series 1-0. And then the 2-6 matchup, because of Sacramento's comeback series victory over the Mavericks, the Kings are facing the Clippers in the 2-6 matchup there, and the Clippers are up 1-0. So the Wizards took game 1 of this series with a 21-point blowout, 84-63. Zach LaVine led the way for the Bulls with 20 points, going 7 out of 14 from the field, and he probably had the best game from the Bulls. Lonzo Ball was only 2 out of 10, but as you know, he is playing on a sprained MCL, and you will see the yellow cross during the game under Ball. And of course, as you know, our simulation is different, and Lonzo Ball in real life is injured and did not play at all during the season. But Ball here is compromised, and we're definitely trying to take advantage of that, as Ball was an all-defensive performer as well in our simulation. So he is a good defensive player in this game, just like he is in real life. The Wizards were led by Bradley Beal with 25 points, 8 out of 11 from the field, 3 out of 5 from deep, 6 out of 7 from the free throw line for 25 points. Summerz had 19 and Porzingis had 18. And of course, Jaymont Summerz is our player build. And that led the way for the Wizards, 84-63. But the biggest point here, the Wizards had a 34-13 advantage in the second quarter. And that was basically what changed changed the entire complexion of the game. The Wizards went into that quarter with a 9-point lead, 26-17, but then the 21-point difference in the second quarter after Summer sat down and Monte Morris, the backup point guard, came in, along with Will Barton and Rui Hachimura. Among the bench unit, Daniel Gafford, who was among the leading vote getters for sixth man of the year in our simulation. By that point, at halftime, that was a 60-30 advantage for the Wizards, and that was basically ball game. So the Wizards took that one, taking game one 84-63, as the Wizards shot 57% from the field, and the Bulls, who we just talked about, shot over 50%, in some cases over 55% in the entire series against Atlanta, only shot 42% against the Wizards and 26% from deep, going 7 out of 27. So now it's time to take a look at our Jaymont Summerz Play of the Week. We're happy to have you with us, and we are underway in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Jaymont Summerz drives against Ball and looks like Green, and the layup falls. Good start for Summerz. All right, so next week, the conference semifinals continue. Wizards, Bulls, and Sixers, Cleveland in the East, and Memphis, Denver, Clippers, Kings in the West. And the Wizards will play game 2 later on today. Hope you join us for that on our YouTube channel, SeasonLongBaller. So hope to see you for that one. So Wizards, Bulls will take place a little bit later on today. That's going to do it for this edition, number 26 of the Season Long Podcast. Happy to have you with us and glad that you were able to make a little bit of time in your busy day to check us out. Hope to have you a little bit later when we take on the Bulls in Game 2 in the conference semifinals. You have a wonderful rest of your day. See you later. Peace.